You know, based on Manny Pacquiao's achievements, I don't agree with what some people are saying. They're saying that, you know, if he beats Errol Spence, he goes down as the greatest of all time, or, you know, or one of the top five or top three greatest boxers of all time. And I strongly disagree. I think regardless whether he wins or not, he still goes down for me as the greatest, based on his achievements alone, being that he's an 8-weight world champion, and no other boxer has achieved what he's done, and not just what he's achieved, that's the most impressive, but how he's achieved it, you know, how he's conducted himself inside and outside the ring. And as a fighter, like I said in my videos, it's just, you're always going to get your value for money with Pacquiao. You're always going to get a great fight. You can kind of always expect, it's kind of like the known and the unknown. With Pacquiao, you know that you're going to get a great fight, but you also don't know what to expect, like, you know, i.e. the Thurman fight. No one really expected Pacquiao to knock Thurman down in the first round, and then to beat him in the manner in which he beat Thurman, being that Thurman was undefeated and one of the best welterweights in the world at that time, and being 10 years Manny's senior. Thurman was 30, Manny was 40. So for me, yeah, obviously if he beats Errol Spence, it will be incredible. It will just add to the amazing legacy. And you know, I'm not playing that down, but I don't like when people kind of give this ultimatum that, oh, you know, yeah, Manny will be a GOAT if he beats Spence. It's like, get the hell out of here. It's like, he doesn't need to beat Spence. He doesn't even need to fight him. Manny hasn't ducked anyone. Look at his resume. His resume is unbelievable. And, you know, when people say things like, yeah, but he's got 7 losses, who cares? Who cares? You know, if you had 70 fights, you'd have 7 losses. You'd lose at some point. And the fighters that are undefeated, most of them, when you look at Mayweather, he had 50 fights, which is impressive. But Pacquiao's had an extra 70 fights. I think this is going to be the 71st or 72nd fight going into the Spence fight. So I don't buy into that. I really don't. Obviously, people can have their opinion, but when you look at the facts, based on what he's achieved, you know, in my opinion, I put him as the greatest boxer to ever do it. But if some people don't agree with that, you have to put him up there as one of the greatest. And if you don't, then you're just really denying facts, because nobody has, you know, started off at such a light weight, minimum weight, or 108, 112 pounds, and worked their way up all throughout the weights. And bearing in mind, Manny's not just, you know, worked his way up the weights and won. As he's worked his way up, he's took on the best fighter at that particular weight and destroyed them in most cases. So you can't say Manny's had easy fights, which he hasn't. I'm not saying people are. You know, his resume is brilliant. And, you know, for me, this whole obsession with keeping the O, I just think it's bullshit. I don't buy into it. Now, obviously, if you can win all your fights, then that's brilliant. But the reality is, other than Floyd Mayweather, Joe Calzaghe, Rocky Marciano, and I'm sure there's a couple of others, but I can't think of the names. Do me a favour, guys. Let me know in the box below if you can name any other fighters other than Floyd Mayweather Jr., Joe Calzaghe, and Rocky Marciano, who retired undefeated with a clean sheet. You know, other than those guys, all of the greats, Ali, Tyson, Frazier, Foreman, Jack Dempsey, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., you know, I know his career's still going, Canelo, who's obviously going to go down as one of the great. They've all got losses. De La Hoya's got losses, Mosley, Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr., James Toney. These are all legends. These are all, you know, they're up there. Arguably, the names I've just named, you could put these guys as the greatest, depending on your opinion. But they've lost because they fought the best. So you can't try and poke holes in Pacquiao's career and try and downplay what he's achieved. Because when you say, oh, well, you can't say Pacquiao's the greatest, or you can't say he's one of the greatest because he's got 7 losses. But no, that's just bullshit. It will be different if he had 7 losses and he didn't have eight world championships in 8 different weight divisions. But the matter of the fact is he does. So when people do that, they're just haters, and I'm not a hater of anyone. And like I said, if you don't like Pacquiao personally and you don't like his style, fair enough. But you can't ignore, you can't downplay the man's achievements, what he's achieved inside the ring and outside the ring. And I mean, he's still going. If you look at all the legends that Pacquiao's beat, De La Hoya, well, De La Hoya's going to be doing a comeback fight with Vito Belfort, but I don't really include that. He's been retired for years now. Most of the fighters that he's beaten, they're in retirement. They've been retired for ages now. Barrera, a legend. Eric Morales, a legend. De La Hoya, other than this comeback for this fight, before that was retired. So to think that Pacquiao is still going, Marquez retired, Mayweather retired, Hatton retired, Miguel Cotto retired, Margarito, he's still going, right? He shouldn't really be here now. So nobody expected Pacquiao to fight Errol Spence. No one said, oh, you got to fight Spence to prove something. So give credit where credit's due. I don't know why people keep pointing to the losses. And if you want to get really picky, there was some robberies in there. So really, he didn't have 7 losses. If you take away, he didn't lose to Bradley the first fight. No way. He didn't lose that fight to Jeff Horn. So already we eradicate 2. Really, he would have 5 losses. But, on the record, it's 7. But for me, I wouldn't care if Pacquiao had 10 losses, 15 losses, because to have that many wins, to have his knockout rate, to have won all those titles, to have beaten all those champions in the manner in which he beat them, being that he's a small man, he's never been a natural welterweight. Pacquiao has been fighting bigger men, and you could argue he's not even, probably would be a lightweight, right, or a junior welterweight, but he's not really been a natural welterweight. He's just gone up to that weight because of sheer talent, power and speed. If he loses to Errol Spence, it doesn't change anything. It really doesn't. Even if he got knocked out, right? I don't want that to happen. It would be a bit of a shock, but it wouldn't take away the fact that he goes down in history, arguably as the greatest or one of the greatest, but because of what he achieved. And you could always argue if he loses to Spence that he's not in his prime no more, that he's 42 years of age, that he's had 70 fights and he's been reigning for years. Feels like Pacquiao's been fighting since the Stone Age time. I mean, I first discovered Pacquiao about 17 years ago, something like that. Yeah, around 17, 16 years. Someone, at the time, this is when I don't think YouTube was around, but it wasn't that big. Someone borrowed me a cassette tape where they taped the fights on Sky, and when Sky used to go from the UK to America, and I first saw Pacquiao fight Barrera. That's where I first became a fan and discovered Manny. So he's been going for years. He's been at this level for donkey's years. So I think sometimes fans expect too much. Obviously, we want him to beat Spence. That would be great. Every bit of my heart wants him to beat Errol Spence, and I think he can do it. But if he doesn't do it, people got to chill out a bit and just say, look, he's come to the end of his career. Errol Spence is 30 years of age. He's not even in his prime. He's still peaking. But you could say, he's somewhat in his prime. So there's no shame in losing. And really, after the Furman fight, you wouldn't complain if Pacquiao retired, because he's got nothing to prove. I really think he's doing this because he loves fighting, he loves the sport, and he loves challenging himself, and he believes he can beat Errol Spence. But if he beats him, it's incredible. But for me, there's not like, I'm not waiting and thinking, oh, let me wait and see if Pacquiao beats Spence, and then we'll decide if he's a GOAT. He already is a GOAT. I mean, he was a GOAT. He was a GOAT when he beat De La Hoya. That was when he beat Miguel Cotto. History books. Even before that, when he was beating Barrera, Eric Morales, and when he beat David Diaz. So he's been reigning for so long. I think people forget that. They just take it for granted. Pacquiao's been a champion for so long. You know, he's gone through different eras, and most of the people he's beaten, they're in retirement. You know, they're all retired and happy, and you know, and they're all like overweight now. They're all like chubby, put on weight because they're all enjoying their retirement now. Pacquiao's still lean, shredded and fit, and ready to go. So I can't wait for this fight. I don't really look at this fight as, you know, as Errol Spence, as who's bigger. That's just a broken record now. We've heard this argument since for years now. Pacquiao's usually always a smaller man going in. I'm just looking forward to seeing who's the better man on the night, who gets the game plan right. That's what it comes down to at this level, at the elite level. You know, who can counteract whose strengths and who can execute their game plan. So I'm hoping Pacquiao can win with speed in and out. And question marks around Errol Spence and Pacquiao. Can Errol Spence take Pacquiao's power when Pacquiao lands? I'm confident he will land. Can Manny take Errol's power if he lands? Or I believe he can. I'm not so sure that Errol Spence can take Pacquiao's power if he lands clean, because Pacquiao's a massive puncher, a bigger puncher than Errol Spence. Errol Spence obviously is physically stronger in terms of wrestling, but wrestling doesn't win boxing matches. Sometimes it's an advantage, but usually when Pacquiao's concerned, if you look at Margarito, he tried to do it. He tried to grab him and bully Pacquiao. Pacquiao just got more relentless and just, you know, he punched his head in. Pacquiao's whole style was built around beating big men. He had to come up with that style. He wouldn't have been out. He wouldn't have been able to go through the weight divisions, being, you know, what is he at best, 5'6", 140, 144, 145, 147, just about. To beat these taller men, these bigger framed men that are thicker and bigger, he would have had to have something extraordinary, and he's got that. Speed, power, unorthodox style, relentlessness, angles, great footwork, timing, a superior fitness. So if Pacquiao's anything like the Pacquiao against Furman, or even a little bit better, then wow, we're in for a fight. I really like Errol Spence, so it's difficult. I have no reason not to like him. You know, when Pacquiao was going in against Margarito, I didn't really like Margarito, to be honest. I don't know him, but I don't dislike him personally, but I didn't really like the cheating with the hand wraps, what he done to Cotto, and I didn't really like that. He kind of went in as the bad guy. But with Errol Spence, he's just a decent guy. He's just respectful. He doesn't do any trash talking, and he's a really good fighter and just quite a laid-back, chilled guy. So nothing to dislike about him. Just the fact that, you know, Pacquiao's my favourite fighter, and whoever he fights, I'm going to be rooting for him. Let me know your thoughts in the box below. I'm excited to know, how do you think this fight's going to go? Do you think Errol's going to win? Do you think Manny's going to win? What will the tactics be? Let me know in the box below. I'll read the comments and I'll get back to all of you. But I think it's pretty obvious, like Pacquiao said, speed's the key. He's not really going to... I can't see him beating Spence any other way other than speed. But I do feel with Errol Spence is more laid back, more flat-footed. Well, not saying he's got great footwork, but he seems more, I wouldn't say he's slow, but he seems a lot slower compared to Pacquiao. But he's very strong, precise and clever, and kind of breaks you down to the body and head. He just keeps wearing you down. Pacquiao can't be giving Errol Spence too much time to, you know, to get his rhythm going and to start building that momentum that he tends to build in fights if you allow him to, which he done to Kell Brook eventually. Once he gets on top, Errol, it's very hard to stop him. Nobody's really been able to do it. That's why he's undefeated. But if Pacquiao can be anything like the Pacquiao we've seen, where he's just relentless and he just won't let you settle, I think that's what it comes down to. What fighter can impose their strengths and their rhythm and set the tone and the pace of the fight will win this fight. And it's the battle of the strengths, battle of the boxing IQs and styles, and it's all about the night. But this is amazing, man, because this time that we've been in with a pandemic, with having so many fights behind closed doors and not many fans, a bit depressing, even though I appreciated how much boxing was on. But now we're going to have a big crowd and all the support. It's going to feel like a proper fight again. So I can't wait. And like I said, I promise to do as many Pacquiao, Spence videos leading up to the fight, because this is a historic time. It's not every week or every day you get a fight of this magnitude. And being that Pacquiao is such a legend, and he's given me so many entertaining fights. All of his fights I've loved. I've just had so many also good moments with friends, family, and on my own watching Pacquiao's fights. They've just been massive events. So the least I can do is, you know what I mean, show my appreciation as a fan. And honestly, I'm not being over the top or cheesy, but watching him has helped me to, you know, it's given me confidence in my life. It's pushed me to train harder, and anything I do in my life, I'm always, if I'm dedicated, I put everything into it. Even making these videos, I like to motivate and encourage other people. So watching Pacquiao motivates me, especially as well as I'm getting older. I'm not far off 40, believe it or not. So it pushes me to believe in myself more, regardless of what age. And that, you know, that's how much those fights, watching greats like Pacquiao, have meant to me. Looking forward to it. I just saw on the news that Pacquiao's just arrived, I think last night or whenever, in LA now. This is the bit where it gets exciting, where he usually trains a few weeks in the Philippines, right? And then at a certain point he goes over to Freddie Roach in LA in the wild card and does another 6 weeks there, where he partners up with Roach and Justin Fortune. I just love the team, and it's exciting when, I hope we get a lot of good footage online, guys, where you can see Pacquiao hitting the pads and all the media. It's just exciting. It's just a proper old school fight. But this is going to be amazing, man. It feels like a dream. You know, Errol Spence against Pacquiao is, we don't get enough of these fights today. You know, it's a shame in boxing, because, you know, it feels like the best don't fight the best, or when they do, it takes ages to make the fights happen. It's never when we want. But this has just been a real treat for everyone. You know, a legend fighting, you know, a superstar, and someone who's getting better and better. So may the best man win. Speak to you guys soon. All right, bye.